Welcome to the Creative Endeavor Podcast. This is a podcast bringing you inspiring stories from creative professionals from around the world. It's real conversations with real artists. And I'm Andrew Tischler, and it is such a pleasure to have your company in the studio here once again. In this episode, I'm talking to my good buddy, Samuel Earp, who's a fantastic artist based in the Upper North Island here in New Zealand. Samuel really specializes in plein air painting. His work is characterized by loose, bold, and vibrant brushwork, and he loves capturing his subjects from life. One thing I really admire about my buddy Sam, though, is his attitude towards his online business and just how relentless this guy is and how hardworking and dedicated he is. I'm always learning something by chatting with him, and me and Sam talk quite often. But it was great to just have this opportunity here to just geek out about art, about making paintings, but also about some strategies for our online businesses as artists and maybe how to get that edge. There's so much going on here in this podcast. I cannot wait to share it with you. But before we get stuck into it, can you do me a huge favor? Can you leave me a rating or a review on whatever audio platform you're listening on? If you're a fan of the Creative Endeavor, it helps push that out to more and more people, and I really appreciate that effort. And one more thing. You're about to hear the audio version, but if you want to listen or watch the full video version, then that's available right now on Tisch Academy. Simply go to tisch.academy. That's TISCH. You'll find a link in the show notes. All right, I'm going to get out of the way. Here's Samuel Earp in the Creative Endeavor. Mr. Samuel Earp, welcome back to the Creative Endeavor Podcast, my friend. How are you?
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Good, good. It's long overdue. This second installment of our chat together. Long overdue. Of course, for people listening, Sam and I are good buddies. We talk pretty much every couple of days, but on Messenger and stuff, just about every day, sending each other the memes back and forth, making each other laugh. It's great. But no, I enjoy a wonderful friendship with Mr. Samuel Earp. So it's a real pleasure to have you here. Long overdue, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah. When was the last time we spoke? I think it was in 2022, wasn't it? Or
I
can't
don't
remember
know,
now.
man. I don't know. We made all sorts of promises at the time. NFTs were a thing. We're going to get into that. I failed the challenge. I just want everybody to know I failed the challenge. Sam beat me to NFTs, and then you got burned in DeFi, I think it was, or something that happened. So yeah, we can get into that, and maybe about some of those technological things, the way they cross over into art, which is super interesting. But lots of places I want to go on this podcast with you, bro. But I'm gonna encourage people to go back, if they haven't listened to the first interview that we've had, to go back and listen to that first, to kind of get your backstory. So we won't have you rehash your backstory, and it's a cool story, the way you kind of came up, grew up in the UK, spent time on Guernsey. And then, your schooling and how you became now a professional full-time artist. So let's kick things off. I'd love to hear, Sam, you're knocking out some great paintings at the moment. I'm enjoying your posts on Instagram. I've linked to your Instagram and website in the show notes and in the description below. But tell us what you're working on at the moment and what's really inspiring you.
What am I working on at the moment? Man, I've been so busy over the last 3 months because I've been making some quite significant changes to my online presence, my art business. I'm also working on a series of landscape paintings in general. But yeah, where do I start with it? As I say, yeah, the last 3 months has been quite a change in my art business. I've shifted over to a new platform. Actually, that was in August last year. So yeah, one of the main ways I make money from my art business is through teaching art, just like you do, doing with the video courses. And now more recently, I'm actually doing weekly live Zoom meetings as well. So I alternate them between painting live streams, and then we do painting, I call it painting help / critiques.
Awesome.
So I'm doing that. Yeah. So prior to that, I was on Patreon, and I am still using Patreon at the moment because I've still got some people on there. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with Patreon yet. I think I'll probably will keep it going and still add some content on there, but it's not the main, it's not where you're going to get all the best stuff from me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So last year I created an art school on the site school.com, which is just such a brilliant website. I found it through a blogging course that I joined in June because I have a blog on my website. I have lots of free painting tutorials, which I've written as blog. So if you ever want to have a go at some of the tutorials that I've created there, it's all for free. So just go to my website and it's there. But yeah, when I joined school or joined blogging blogging course on there, within the first few minutes, I thought, wow, this site is so easy to use. It's so intuitive. It's like had a really like vibrant community section, then the classroom with all the courses in it, and then the calendar section, which is where all the Zoom calls are. And this particular blogging course had 3 Zoom calls a week with the coaches. So if you've got any problems, you can ask for help, any questions, that kind of thing. And it just gave me loads of ideas of what I could do to my online art school that I created. So I was looking around for a new platform anyway, because I just wasn't happy with Patreon. And it's not to like badmouth Patreon or anything. And it was right for me at the time when I started it. It was where I was at. I started it in 2020. But just after being on it for a few years, I really started to notice the limitations of the platform.
Mm,
It's quite clunky. I think you'd agree with this as well, because I know
absolutely.
you're on Patreon for a long time
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And then, I had subscribers that were having trouble finding the older videos, and it seemed to be quite difficult to get engagement on Patreon. So yeah, all up, it just wasn't really great for what I was doing in the end. So since moving over to school, like the community section there is just absolutely buzzing right now. I've got people sharing their art. I've created categories as well. For example, like reference photos. I got subscribers there sharing their reference photos for other subscribers to do paintings
That's
from.
brilliant, man. That's absolutely
Um,
brilliant.
yeah, there's one guy in the group that's created uh like a buddy group. So I created a category for that so people can like hold each other accountable and set goals with their paintings.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's really awesome. We got all sorts of things going on. So yeah, they're sharing their artworks. I'm doing the weekly Zoom meetings as well.
Mhm.
And all of my video courses are all categorized in the classroom section, so it's just really easy to find. I'm creating a beginner's landscape painting course at the moment. It's about halfway made, but I'm uploading modules as I make them. And actually, even some parts of the courses, I'm actually just recording it live over Zoom,
Mhm.
and then doing some edits to it. But yeah, so we're doing all sorts of different live Zoom classes, but
Brilliant.
it's really good. And the other thing I've done as well, so if anybody watching slash listening would even like a taste of what I do at the art school, I've also got a free version called Painter's Hub,
Mhm.
and there's loads of free in-depth painting tutorial videos, so way more in-depth than I give on YouTube. So we've got, yeah, loads of free painting tutorials. I've got a free beginner's landscape painting blueprint ebook on
Mhm.
there. There's also a landscape painting success masterclass on tonal values. It's all completely free in the Painter's Hub. So
Wow,
if you want
man.
to, yeah, so if you want to join that, I'll give you the link anyway. But
We'll
you
we'll post
subscribe.
it. We'll post it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
yeah, yeah.
That sounds cool, dude. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, come and join that. As I say, absolutely free. But yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Mm.
And I'll be honest, I've been so busy working on this, I haven't been painting as much, which is frustrating because now
I hear
now the
you.
dust is starting to settle a bit. Yeah, I really want to get and finish the paintings I've been working on. I've got a seascape from Wellington that I still haven't finished yet. I'm doing a painting of Skipper's Canyon, which I still haven't finished. I started ages ago.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so just yeah, lots of stuff going on at the moment. And yeah, the other thing I've been doing is I've just started doing one-on-one coaching as well. So I've been yeah, pretty busy with
Well,
that
I
as
want to
well.
ask you about the one-on-one coaching. We'll talk about that a bit later. I do want to make sure we get that in the podcast. But
Yeah.
one thing, I mean, you have painted kind of recently. When did we meet up in Wellington? Was it October or was it November?
Oh, it's November, I think. Yeah.
November. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so we did paint on the coast in Wellington together. That was cool. A few days there, a Feeder Bay, Breaker Bay. Did we go down to Breaker Bay? It was near Breaker Bay.
Oh, it was
Or is
near
it
there,
or is
wasn't
it
it? Yeah.
Moa Point? It was one of these little spots on the
Yeah.
Wellington coast. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Um, so basically, what you're saying is you've been so busy grinding it out with like the business stuff, the tech stuff, that it
Yeah.
actually doesn't leave time for the painting at the moment. But the end is coming to that pretty soon, I imagine, where you'll be able to go, okay,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
up and
Yeah.
working, that's happening. Click. Now I can move over, and that it's
Yeah.
this thing I hear this all the time about setting up something that's like passive income. Like for
Yeah.
me, passive, I laugh now that like passive income is just not a thing. The more I work, the more passive it is. It's like you've got to continue to grind it out, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know what, I've heard other artists say this that they stopped painting for a couple of months whilst they just solely worked on their business. I've heard a few artists that
Wow.
do that, and
Yeah.
that's what I've done. So because I've been getting coaching as well myself. So
All
it's a
right.
whole load of new concepts that I'm learning. Yeah, I mean, it's like with anything. If you want to learn something, if you want to speed up what you're doing, it's quite often a good idea to hire a coach. I mean, that's really what we do as well, isn't it? For people that want to
Yeah.
improve painting. Say for example, I mean, I help artists that, especially landscape painters, that have been struggling for years, probably, like what happened to me before I met you, where I was just floundering, and people that are
Oh, you were
struggling
doing
with,
okay. Maybe you need a little, like a little
but
couple of little
yeah.
pointers, but you're doing all right.
Yeah, but no, but I was struggling with composition, tonal values, color mixing, or just
Yeah.
all of that. And I've never been to art school either, so I was never explained that. And it's partly perhaps my own naivety and ignorance at the time that I didn't actually like bother to go and learn that stuff either. But so I help artists with the same problem. And what I do is I explain it in a way that's really easy to understand so that they can quickly accelerate their painting skills to get up to that next level. So their art is at a standard that they can start doing things like selling their art, getting into galleries, starting that online art business, or even starting a coaching business, and just getting your art up to that standard. So you've got like
Brilliant.
lots more confident that. So I just create a foundation, like a solid foundation that you can work from, and then you can start building on that yourself.
Amazing.
So yeah, so that's really
Mm.
what I've been working on at the moment. And as I say, sometimes you just need help, and you learn from people that are doing it, or you hire a coach, or you join a subscription model like what we do, or whatever.
Hmm.
With you with the Tisch Academy, me with the art school,
Hmm.
and yeah, we all help each other learn, if you
Well,
see what I mean. So
but that's the thing. So I think we do forget sometimes, and I think, well, maybe a few people listening to this, but we got a lot of professional artists that listen to the podcast as well. But how often do we actually seek out the help from those who are kind of at that next level, two or three levels
yeah,
up, or somebody that we're just insanely inspired by.
yeah.
Like for instance, I don't know, you might feel weird me saying this, but you kind of coach me a bit, dude. Like when I still think back to back in the day, 2015, when you came to see me when I was living in Victoria in Barwon Heads, and I wasn't on Instagram at all. You're like, Let's get you set up on Instagram." I'm like, "What is this? Freaking out," kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, but then even now recently, and I wanted to ask you about this because you know part of what I can hear is really important is this diversification. But how do you know which move to make in your art business? How do you know that next thing? if you're not actually inspired by or picking up cues from other people who have already been there and done that. Yeah, I borrowed
Yeah.
this from Tony Robbins, which is success leaves clues. And then
Yeah.
I say after that, if you want to get what they got, you have to do what they did. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
there are people out there that are doing stuff. Why not incorporate a few of these things into our business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And probably for years as an artist, I never even thought about, actually trying to learn about business or marketing or things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you really do have to learn that stuff if you want to have certainly a successful online business. And I think a lot of things have changed as well, because the sort of old model was to go and, put your art in a gallery and just let them deal with it all for you.
Well, okay. Let's go back maybe a few decades, right? When we
Yeah.
when we first started, thinking about art, becoming an artist, and because I think we've both entered this thing in a very similar time where, all of this stuff started getting going. Like websites started becoming really a thing. When I first started, there wasn't Facebook and there wasn't Instagram, and then it showed up, and so I was quite resistant and hesitant. So what did the old model look like? What is this idea that people have in their heads? Because maybe there's some older people listening to this, or maybe there's some younger folks that are trying to embrace that old model and they're coming up against resistance. But let's just flesh out what is the old model first before we smash it.
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I first started selling in an art gallery probably about 13 or 14 years ago.
Right.
And I think actually Facebook business pages weren't even around then.
Hmm.
So social media as we know it now really wasn't that much of a thing. And for me, it was just putting my paintings in this gallery and him selling them for me. I was still working a full-time job, so I wasn't trying to make a full-time income off it. To be honest, I didn't really start thinking about being a full-time artist. I mean, I wanted to, but I just couldn't see how it was possible. And I think looking back then as well, it was partly my own mindset at the time and limiting beliefs that I had. And then, it was really cool meeting you, because then I really got the idea of like, I could do something online. But no, I think prior to then, I thought the only real way I could sell paintings was to sell through a gallery and try and see if I can
Hmm.
get into as many galleries as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not against galleries, but I've never really had that great experience with them, and I'm kind of over it right now.
Yeah, I know. We spoke about this recently. You're like, I remember I got the message like, dude, I'm so done with this. I'm done. I hit the wall myself in recent years, just going, I'm out. I can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
do it. I'm
I
out.
mean, don't get me wrong. I think if you find the right gallery and you got a good working relationship with them,
Sure.
and they're making sales for you and stuff, and it's in a good location,
Mhm.
then yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But I wouldn't, well, for me personally, I wouldn't solely rely on just being in a gallery. I think, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially nowadays when I know everyone's like, I know everyone's always like about the economy and all this kind of thing, but there's actually like never been a better time to make a living as an artist, because we've got the internet now.
Well, okay.
So
Okay. I do want to
I'll probably
unpack.
jump forward there, but
I do want to unpack that because I'm one of these people that does sometimes about the economy, um, and worry about where the world's going and going. Oh no, oh no. But you're
Hmm.
quite right. But I mean, let's just look at something here that really recently disrupted that gallery model, right? Um,
Yeah,
COVID came around. Regardless of how people feel about
yeah,
COVID,
yeah,
that's all right. We don't need to get into that. But
yeah,
but it is what it is. When the world locked down, people stopped interfacing with retail establishments
yeah,
in a real world sense, and the world shifted online. And that was
yeah,
that was fascinating. And galleries left, right, and center, man, were closing down because how do you survive
yeah,
in a
exactly.
place where people can't actually come in? Unless they were savvy and onto it and had a strong online presence and a great direct marketing. But most galleries that I know of, there are exceptions to this, of course, no question. But most galleries that I know of, they rely solely on the foot traffic that comes in the door. What happens when that goes away?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, actually, when those lockdowns started, to be honest, all of it made very little difference to my life because I'd already sort of positioned my life in general and being able to do the online art thing that I was able to just, for me, it was just business as usual.
Yeah, it's funny because during that time, I spoke to so many artists that were in exactly the same boat where they're like, "What, lockdown? I didn't even notice." Like my dad didn't even notice. He's a full-time artist. He just kept on going because he just never leaves the house anyway. He just keeps sculpting. But several others that I know of that they just kept working. I think artists, by their nature, because we're naturally maybe loners and we enjoy our own company and enjoy creating. From that standpoint, we didn't worry so much. But then it's a question of, what do you do if the gallery that represents you now suddenly goes away? And by the way, man, I don't think it's over either. I still think that there's more disruptions coming our way that are going to be so profound that might even, really
Yeah, possibly.
eclipse COVID of what that did to the world economy. And I don't want to be doom and
Yeah.
gloom, but I think that sometimes anticipation can help. I'm going doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry,
I
but
think I no, I think you should, I think you should be street smart enough to know what's going on, but I wouldn't like, at the start of COVID, I got pretty down about what was going on,
yeah,
and it was pretty dark times. But then in the end, I luckily sort of managed to snap myself out of it, and I sort of saw it for what it was, and I in the end I was just like, no one's out to get me, man, and
right.
I'm now just I've stopped completely. I've stopped focusing on, like, I know there's bad stuff going on in the world, but it's all a distraction, and it's all designed to waste your time and zap your energy. And
Mhm.
I think really, if you really want to make change in the world, you're actually best off working on yourself and being the change you want to be in the world. And in my case, it's being an artist and teaching people to paint, and
Yeah.
my family.
So
And
I really
yeah,
heard that I really heard that shift in you when that happened, by the way. And again, not to patronize you at all, bro, but
yeah,
I really heard that because we were both in that place. We talked about this a bunch at the time, but then just seeing you go, yeah, not focusing on it, boom. So let's say you are in a headspace where you're naturally, and look, let's be fair. I think it is natural to be pessimistic about the economy, but let's just say you are somewhat fearful about making the
yeah,
next move in your art business. How do we adopt more of this mindset that you seem to have now?
yeah.
Because like when you say something like, bitching about the economy, like I get where you're coming from because this is very much reflective of your self-dialogue. Sam, snap out of it.
Mhm.
You're going into this headspace. Focus on what you can control. Focus on the positives. Let's go. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but
Yeah, I mean, when I said bitching about the economy, I guess I was more kind of talking about myself there just even a couple of years ago because I feel like I got so distracted with all of that stuff, and I was thinking, oh, the economy's bad. Who's going to pay? And it's just the wrong mindset to have, I think. So I stopped it. I mean, I'm not denying that the cost of living is expensive in a lot of places, especially here in New Zealand at the moment. And yeah, sometimes it can be a worry, but just worrying about it's not going to help. And also, if you're an artist, especially, and you want to start your online art business, I think if you're not careful, you can end up getting so worried about that it causes inaction and you don't do anything. When really the best thing to do is to stop worrying about that and focus on growing your art business. And it's like what's that word? It's what you focus on grows, if you see what I mean.
mhm.
So it's if all the time if all your time you're just focusing on negative things that are going on in the world all the time, that's what you're going to start seeing all the time, and it's just not good for you. And as I
Yeah.
say, a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world is and reported on and all this. It's literally, it's a distraction, and it's just designed to waste your time.
Yeah.
So there's,
Yeah.
like, for example, I don't have a TV. I don't watch the news. I just, I,
No, I'm with you
I
on
know
that.
what's going
Yeah.
on. I don't need it, man.
Yeah.
I really don't need that in my life
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And to that as well, like most of the news that's out there, as we know, and it's either designed to, you know, make you feel a strong emotion or put you in a
yeah,
fear state. And as soon as you go in that fear
exactly,
state, you're
exactly.
binary. And so they go, oh, problem. Then they elicit the reaction. Oh, reaction. And then
Yeah,
suddenly it's like solution, take this,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's,
That's
yeah.
exactly.
So I hear you. No, I don't really
And yeah,
have,
you actually realize that when you stop listening and watching that stuff as
right.
well, your mental state massively improves, and you realize that
Yeah.
actually there's not that many things to fear anyway. Not half these boogeymen that they present are
Yeah.
just not real. So
Get,
half
so
the time you're
you,
worrying about nothing.
let's get a little bit personal here because and I think this is kind of important for this conversation that we're having here. Because we're both looking at this, and I'm sure people listening would have maybe found themselves in a similar place. But do you remember that spot I got in last year? I can't believe I'm saying this on the podcast, but whatever. Last year, I got a bit down. I
Yeah,
got actually really down, and I reached out to him like, dude, I don't know what's up. Like, it's just, and I think I just hit that point of overwhelm where it's like I
yeah,
was tuning into the stuff that the you know I I found myself, dude, I found myself nearly getting a PhD in conspiracy theories. All right, we don't have to go into that. I'm not. That's not what this show is about. But suffice to say, it made me very dark, very negative,
yeah,
and that was your advice. It's like, bro, energy flows where your attention goes. You got to change where you're
yeah,
putting your attention. Don't focus on this stuff. Focus on something a little more positive. Do you know, I actually cut way back on that. And I stopped watching the shows and the podcasts and the videos that I was watching, thinking, no, I got to know this stuff. And then just going, no, I'm going to focus on, things that are really good, things that are still true, for my business, things that are
yeah,
beautiful, things that are going to help me grow that and help me actually be better to pour back
yeah,
into the people that are following me. But also, to be honest, man, it made me a lot nicer. As soon as I unplugged, it made me a lot nicer as a husband, and I think as a
yeah,
friend, and
yeah,
and I was
exactly.
just I was a miserable sack of crap. you know, well, I have my
And
moments.
so
I do have my moments, and but it
I,
really is a case where we're focusing, right?
yeah, for sure. I think we've all like grown from that kind of dark period in, 2020, 2021,
Mm.
if you see what I mean. And I learned a lot from it. And I was distracted as well for a certain amount of time. And now I see it for what it is. But yeah, I mean, just going back to all the news and stuff, because even there's a lot of fear porn out there, if you see what I mean.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I heard, you know what, I heard this saying the other day, and it's so true, and it's facts tell, stories sell. So a lot of the time, even these like alternative news outlets, for example, that they want views and clicks. So
Yeah.
if they're selling you a story of doom and gloom, and they're going to do this, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
they it's a business for them as well, so you have to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. And most of it, I've come to realize most of it's crap. Like most of it. It's
Exactly,
it's like it's
exactly.
like you've just swapped one media that's lying to you for another form of media that's lying to you. But let's bring
Yeah,
it back. Let's bring it back to the art business
yeah,
side of things. So
yep,
so you were able to turn this around. Now let's just say somebody listening to this, they're going, okay, give me something I can chew on. Give me some way that I'm able to
yeah,
make this transition from old world into new world and actually take advantage of some of these tools that are at my fingertips now online.
absolutely, yeah,
So you're a young artist or an older artist, maybe somebody that's retired and love to paint, but you want to make a few sales, but you don't have much of an online presence. Sam,
yep.
what do we do?
Okay, well, there is a few things you can do. I mean, I can mainly speak from the teaching aspect because, well, I enjoy teaching my painting skills, and also I floundered for years, and you helped me, so I definitely wanted to help other people. I'm more experienced in that than I am selling artworks online, although I do sell artworks online. But first of all, one of the things you want to be doing as an artist, if you want to think about making a living online, is first of all, you need to make sure that your artwork is up to a reasonable standard that it's going to grab some attention, and or you'd be able to sell it. So if that means spending a year or so just in the background, just working on your craft, get some coaching, join a join Tish Academy or something like that, then do that and just work on your craft. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
then after that, once you're starting to produce a good body of work, you could certainly still try the art gallery route. There's cafes, there's places like that. Start getting some local sales. Start building a social media presence. So Instagram, in my opinion, is probably one of the best platforms for artists. I think it's also one of the easiest platforms to grow on. I think it's easier than YouTube. You can start posting your paintings. You can start creating reels and filming what you're doing. So filming your painting process. So start getting as well, because we do live in the day and age where everyone's got a camera, got a camera phone, and start getting used to being in front of a camera. And it's nerve-wracking at first, and you've only got to see my earliest YouTube videos in 2017 to see how nervous I look. But the more you do it, you just you get used to it.
Yeah.
But start getting used to being in front of a camera and showing your process. And another thing you can then do, you could either create a website, but it's not essential to create a website. There's plenty of other platforms that you can use instead, where you can do all these things. One I've heard of, and I haven't tried it, and I actually don't know if it would work for art, but I don't see why it wouldn't. But I think it's called System.io, and it's like a whole kind of package. So you can sell things. It's got payment processors. It's got email marketing campaigns. It's got landing pages that you can create. Yeah, I mean, there's so many of these SaaS companies now that are creating all these.
What's SaaS? What's SaaS?
Software as a service. So it's like,
explain that to me.
Sorry.
Explain that to me. Sorry, you're gonna for me and the other people that are going. What's he talking
something
about?
Like Kajabi would be that.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
it's software as a service. It provides a function that allows you to create an online business, or
sure.
Okay. An aspect of. Yeah. So yeah, something like that. Yeah. So you could create your own online art gallery. You could do prints. You can do merchandise with your art on it, for example. I'm actually this year when I get a moment, start focusing on selling more online again, because I've totally neglected it over the last few years because I've been so focused on the teaching side. But here's another thing: even if you wanted to get into the teaching side, you could create a YouTube channel. In fact, you could do this anyway, even if you didn't want to teach, but just create a YouTube channel to just show your process as well, because that's
just
something
do a time lapse, right?
Yeah, because you could share that with potential buyers, for example, that just want to know more about you or see some of your process. But even with the art teaching, you can just make a start anyway. You only need to be like one step ahead, if you see what I mean. It's like, have you ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Frank Abagnale? I know it's entirely factual, but
Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. Yeah. I remember that.
Brilliant movie. But in all those roles he was in, when he was teaching, he was only learning what was needed for like the next lesson, if you see what I mean. So he was only a step ahead, and you can do the same. You can start teaching what you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like an absolute art master that's had decades of experience before you do it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. But I mean,
So
even if there are people that are listening to this and they're working in their studio right now that are art masters with decades of experience, they should still do it too.
yeah, absolutely,
They should still get out there and get their online presence up and running too. Because I
100%.
think again, back to what we were saying before, that anticipation of change is absolutely key.
Yeah,
That if anything does happen to that physical real world, real world model, that you, at least you have that online side of things to back as a fallback, you know.
yeah,
But so I want to go back to something that you just said before, that this year I want to start selling more of my paintings. What does that process look like for you? Like, can you give us like maybe a 3-step process or something that you're thinking about? Like, because it's all well and good to say, okay, I want to sell more online this year, but what's Samuel
yeah.
Earp's plan? How's he going to do it?
Well, I think I need to. I've got a separate website for my paintings. So
Hmm.
my main website is samuelerp.com, which I've had for a long time. And originally I was selling paintings off that. But then, the more I got into the teaching side of things and created the blog on there a few years ago, and I decided in the end that it was actually easier to just separate the two. So samuelerp.com is all about learning to paint. And one of the main features of that is my blog.
Hmm.
And blog posts, and in fact, that's another thing you can try as well as an artist as well, is blogs are brilliant because you can. I know I'm going off on a tangent
No,
here,
no, no, I love it. I wanted to ask you about blogs
blogs,
actually.
yeah, blogs are brilliant because it's a way of documenting your process. It's if you're creating an informational blog post, i.e., say like a how-to, like how to paint a landscape, and you can just take some, progress photos as you paint your artwork and just put that in your blog and just explain about each part of the process. Where it's serves loads of purposes because first of all, you're documenting your own painting process. Then you can share it with other people as well, and you're sharing it for free. So other people can learn from you as well. But it's a really good way of creating or building an audience. So you can use your blog to collect email addresses
Mm.
and get people to sign up to your email list. So you don't want to offer a freebie. So you could write like an ebook or make a like a masterclass. That could just be could be anything you want. I mean, just doing a Zoom meeting with some people and just explaining about an aspect of painting or a live painting demonstration, for example. You could use that. Ebook doesn't have to be that long either. You just needs to be like, 8 or 10 pages maybe of something or other. Just
Awesome.
something that you can give away for free.
Yeah.
But the other cool thing about a blog is if you formatted it correctly, it helps to get your website found in the Google search as well. So, and
Ah.
the more it gets found, and the more articles you write, and the more backlinks you get, it means it's going to raise your domain authority. So the
Right.
authority of your website, which means it's more likely to be shown in the first pages of Google. And there's other ways you can get backlinks as well. You can do guest post blogging and things like that. So
Wow.
anyway, as I say, I've gone off on a complete
No, no,
tangent
no.
there.
Well, let me ask you on
Um,
that. So, I mean, so that I can see
yeah,
how that works, like from a teaching standpoint. So, you're using your
yeah,
art as a way you kind of to position yourself to then be able to, you leverage that and you're able to sell either subscriptions, tickets, workshops,
yeah,
online video or whatever. But you could also use the blogging, couldn't you, to sell originals, move originals, maybe prints as well. So
yeah.
would there fantastic. Okay. Because often I've kind of thought, well, how could I reach more clients by blogging? I've wondered about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, one of the blog posts I wrote was I'm trying to remember the title of it now, but it was something like 10 paintings or yeah, 10 paintings to get you inspired. And
Cool.
and I just found like 10 of my best artworks. It was something like that anyway.
Yeah.
And put like, landscape painting, example of a landscape painting, seascape painting. See, and even that appears in searches when people are looking for, art inspiration.
Dude, I'm writing this down. Because that's a great idea. I would write that down. I was like, I'm keeping that. There's going to be a lot of blogs showing up online now pretty soon. Here's 10 paintings to get you inspired. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah,
Rowan
you know
Carey
what
is
the
doing
thing
this
about
right now.
blogging is,
Shout out to Rowan.
it's nothing. It's not glamorous, if you see what I mean. It's not like, being an Instagram influencer or something like that. Like a lot of bloggers, or there are some bloggers out there that are absolutely crushing it, and you wouldn't even know who they are. Like they don't have a face online. They're just quietly blogging away. They've raised their domain authority with their website. Their blogs are getting shown on the first page of Google, and then they've got a load of affiliate links that they're just constantly getting clicks on, and they're making their money from affiliate commissions. And they're a blogger. I know bloggers that are making millions. I'm not joking, millions from
Wow.
their blog. So it just it goes to show you the power of them and how you can use that as an artist as well. Because I'll tell you another thing about blog posts is I often get questions of, oh, how do you do this, or how do you do such and such? And quite often I've already written a blog post about it, and I'll just go, here, check out this blog post article. Like I often get people ask me, what's the best brushes for oil painting, and I go, here, I've written a blog post about it. So
Amazing.
yeah, I give them that blog post. Plus, it's chocker full of my affiliate links. Everyone's
That's
a winner.
so again, for those listening, maybe if they haven't heard of this before, so an affiliate link is anything that you kind of click on that pays you like a commission. It
Yeah,
or at least, you either commission or points, with whoever clicks on that link. And then there's
exactly.
okay. It's not
It's
something
like, for
I've really
example,
used before.
yeah, like for example, I've got an affiliate with Rosemary and Co. brushes,
Yeah, amazing
and
brushes. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
my yeah, well, I mean, I use them anyway because I
Hmm.
do think they're the best paintbrushes I've ever used. But I wrote a blog post on the best oil painting brushes, and I kind of I sort of went above and beyond with it because I even recommended a lot of brushes for landscape paintings. But yeah, I put my affiliate code Rosemary and Co in there. You put a disclaimer as well, and basically whenever someone clicks on that link, it installs a cookie in their window for 30 days. So that if they make a purchase within that 30 days, then you get a percentage of the sale.
Wow.
So when you start thinking outside of the box, there's all sorts of ways you can make money off your art that doesn't involve selling paintings necessarily. Like selling paintings is, I mean, it's only one thing, but I think in general, especially in this day and age, you want to have multiple avenues of income that you can make from your art, not just selling paintings.
Oh,
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
the other thing with selling paintings is once you've sold it, that's it. You want, I mean, prints are obviously different because you can sell lots more, you can obviously sell multiple prints, but when you sell an original painting, once you've sold it, you've sold it. So it's like we've talked about
Mm.
before. It's like, how can you make that painting continue to make money for you? I mean, one of the ways is
Yes. Mm.
tutorial videos.
I was thinking about this recently. I was talking to my wife Rachel about this, about the different ways you could derive income off any given work, because I was designing a
Yeah,
new body of work, and we were talking, of course, because she helps me run the art business. We are talking about how we were going to make this work. And I said, well, ideally you create the original, you can then
yeah,
print the original. So now there's two streams of income off that with same paintings. You sell the original, you can sell prints. You've then created a video for that original. Now you've got tutorials, but then you can
yeah,
upload a short version of that video. And now you've got, from that short version, maybe you've got some ad revenue. You've got a place where people can
yeah,
click some affiliate links. So now you've got a fifth way that you can make some
exactly.
income off
Yeah,
that. And then you can easily probably think of another two or three. Blogging, that's another one we'll add to it. So by the time
yeah,
you're going through, you could get paid off that same image 6 or 7 times. Like, it's pretty bananas. I can't think of one off the top of my head where I've been able to do all of those things, but definitely not all of those things. But getting close, it does help. And it's not that, this is the other thing as well, man. Like, it's not that any given one of those things is like a home run. and
Yeah,
it's like you're making it rain, but it's the accumulation that I found is
exactly.
what you're
Yeah,
going for. So it's little bits added up, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's, as I say, yeah, there's just so many ways. Yeah, you can do it.
Bro, I gotta tell you, man. Like I'm starting to make notes here. I'm writing them down on my pad. You're every time I talk to you, I'm like, dang, that's a good idea. We'll get that one down. You've just given me titles for three blogs. I've dabbled with blogs in the past. I was never consistent. Here's the thing,
Yeah,
right? And consistency is key. Like I haven't uploaded a YouTube video since like September, November last year. Like it's been a
yeah,
while.
I'm not.
September, October, November, somewhere in there. I can't remember when the last one was. But it's there are projects that I'm more passionate about than other things. Like for instance, with Tish Academy, I'm uploading full tutorials just about every week, critique videos, live streams every week.
Yeah,
So that keeps me busy. But I really love that. The people that have subscribed there, that's my jam. We're family. I'm pouring into that community. But it's the thing I found, and I'm sure other artists that are listening to this now will no doubt feel this as well, but this feeling of overwhelm, right? Like, dude,
yeah,
there is so much to do. Like, what do you mean? You mean I gotta be consistent on YouTube, I gotta be consistent on Instagram, I got a Facebook that needs to be fed. Now I got a blog, I got a Pinterest, I got a this, I got a that. Like after a while, you're like, well, I got 5 minutes left today. I haven't slept.
yeah,
I've barely eaten. Maybe I'll paint something. So how do we,
yeah,
what are some strategies that we can have? Like, is it just a question of just biting the bullet and accepting that we might have to make some sacrifices to get that reach in order to make it a business? But where's the trade-off between all of
yeah.
this and actually making some artwork?
I don't know, but if you find out like how to do it, can you let me know?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, for
I'll be
sure.
honest. I'm actually probably not the best person to ask about that because I'm in that kind of situation at the moment. However, I'm actually making some changes anyway that's going to free up more time for me and just get back in the flow of things. Partly, especially because I've been learning a load of new things over the last few months, and I've been building the art school and the free Painters Hub group as
Mhm.
well. So I haven't posted a YouTube video in a little while. My main priority is the art school because
Yeah.
my members there are obviously paying me. So um, yeah, as I say, we do like a weekly, we're
Mm.
doing weekly Zoom calls. I'm adding new modules,
Mm.
uh, usually every week anyway, on stuff that I'm working on,
Mhm.
and also there's all sorts of stuff going on there anyway. But yeah, certainly trying to balance that. Probably in the long run, I would like to be able to like hire someone to help me
Mhm. Mhm.
if I can.
Mhm.
So at the moment, I am literally a solopreneur and just doing everything myself. But there are certainly aspects of the business that I could get someone else to do.
Yeah.
And I know certainly, other businesses, online businesses at scale, it's usually because they've got a team working for them. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's all about like hiring the right types of people. And
Mhm.
I mean, here's another thing you could do, although not necessarily related to art, but certainly, um, on school.com, for example, that's growing, and now the entrepreneur Alex Hormozzi's just
Oh,
endorsed
I
it. That's good.
know. Like, seriously, man, it's tempting. It's tempting to jump over
Yeah,
to
yeah.
school. I'm telling you. But
But I learned
pretty
something new the
bananas.
other day, which actually I would and could help you as well, Andrew. I'm looking into this, and probably when things are a bit more settled, I might look into this myself. But I learned a new job title called a COO. So you obviously know, like, the CEO of the
Hmm.
company is someone that shows the face, and
Hmm.
like what we do. But a COO is a chief operations officer, and
Absolutely.
they work on commission to help you sell. So if they don't make sales for you, they don't get paid.
Right.
So
I'm hiring. If anyone's listening to this,
No, but
Wow.
like they could be, they could be like like a setter or something that's getting
Yep.
in
Yep.
the direct messages and stuff,
Hmm.
booking discovery calls,
Hmm.
and then getting them so that they finally on a call with you, for example, like if you were doing something like one-on-one coaching, for example, just things like that. But with school.com, because there are now so many new people creating communities on there, which is I'm going to go off on another tangent, but this is
Don't
something
do it.
else I'd recommend. If you're thinking of joining like one of these platforms to show your process, teach your art and stuff, I would consider joining school.com because it's like a flat rate $99 a month. So it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, where there are some other alternatives where it's like the more subscribers you have, the more money you have to pay them. And
Hmm.
that can start adding up,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
So
some
there might not be,
some platforms were charging like I was nearly getting charged, 10% on another platform
yeah,
of what
exactly.
was coming in, and that turns out to be huge. And then I found out like others were charging an eighth of that, and that was their annual fee, and that was a flat rate. And I was like, so it doesn't matter how many I've got. It's like, no. I was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the same with school. It doesn't matter how many subscribers you've got.
yeah,
You just pay a flat $99 a month.
yeah.
But anyway, with all these school groups that are growing, some of them might need COOs in the future. So I'm not
Mm,
an expert on it. It's a concept that I've learned the other day, just because I had someone um, through the coaching I've been getting, through one of the coaching groups, pitched it to me the other day, and it was making me think, you know what, that um, might be useful for me.
yeah.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how things are on down the track, but it's something I would consider, and it's yeah something I not thought about
What about
or only learned about recently.
I was resistant to this for so long. I'm wondering if you want to talk about this, if we could chuck this in here, because
Yeah,
it's interesting. Like my stance on AI when it comes to
yeah,
art and artwork. By the way, I sent you a video link the other day. Did you watch
I
it?
did watch it. I watched it.
Oh
Yeah,
my word. Okay, so just to
yeah,
explain what I
that's
sent
pretty
Sam,
scary.
it was a video by what's the guy's name? Marcus Brownlee, or what's the guy's name? Let me pull it up here, so I'm not butchering his name. He's famous, and I can't believe I'm struggling to think of the name. Um, Here it is here. Uh, his name is yeah, Marcus Brownlee. Marcus Brownlee, that's the guy. So it was AI generated videos just changed forever. And so I had no idea because I haven't really been keeping up with what's been going on in the space. But I do remember the trend of like Boris Johnson eating onions, Elon Musk eating toilets, and then Will Smith eating the spaghetti. John
Yeah,
Cena
yeah,
eating a ice cream cone in a car for an hour straight. I saw some of these compilations going, yeah, isn't AI stupid? And now where it's come in just the space of a year from a text prompt, being able to put together a full video, color, sound, all that stuff. And you can, if you didn't know it was AI, dude, you would not be able to tell the difference.
yeah,
And I was just going, wow, like this is going to, as he was saying in his video, this is going to affect drone pilots. It's going to affect this, that. I was suddenly thinking about it all over again from an art standpoint. I'm still, my position is still standing on the AI thing. When it comes to your art, I think AI is a terrible idea. I think it'll make you a worse artist
yeah,
because I also think it misses the point. I just don't like it from an art standpoint. But as we're talking more and more from the business standpoint, I don't look at writing the same way.
yeah,
I don't look at some of these other things like, some of these functions and apps, there's a lot of stuff that uses AI kind of running in the background, just with the stuff it's already here. We're interfacing with it every day.
yeah.
At first, I was very resistant. I was saying, Sam, go and read Ephesians 6, bro. Pick up your Bible, read Ephesians 6. Like this is dangerous stuff. To going, yeah, I got to get this thing done. I'm just going to get Chat GPT to write this and then I'll tweak it a little bit. And then, like, it would have taken me 8 hours. 8 minutes later, it's done, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
I
can we use this? How do you feel about it? Like, and can we use this to kind of to go to that next level if we're struggling fitting it all in?
Yeah, I mean, I use AI. I think it's well useful. I've been using it. I've been using it since June last year, man.
Wow.
But I mean, I'm not worried about it as an artist because I think at the end of the day, like the whole thing with painting is it's the joy of painting. At least that's what it is for me. It's about painting and AI. Like, where's the fun in generating AI art? If
Because
you see what I mean.
you didn't get to do it. The doing is the fun
Yeah.
part, right? Yeah.
I mean, I've seen someone online that is posting AI art, and it looks awesome. Don't get me wrong, and he's just like, yeah, I plugged all the prompts in myself to create these,
I
and I'm
prompted
just
all
like,
by myself. Like, come on, guy.
yeah, but like if you'd have painted that yourself, I'd be really impressed. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I think at the end of the day that people are still always going to want to paint,
Hmm.
and it's something that you've got to learn how to do it. So I think there's always going to be, I don't know, I'm not worried about it at all. And even in terms of
Yeah.
teaching it also,
I
I
was
think people will want to learn from a real human being.
well, I started going as far as I could, just thinking about this, going, okay, what's going on here? What does this mean? And again, back to that Marcus Brownlee video, going, okay, if this is where it is now, to his point, where is this going to be in a year? What are we looking at here in a year's time?
Mm,
What is it going to be able to do with video? And so then I started thinking about it. Oh yeah, but we still, okay, we'll still have painting videos for sure. And then I suddenly thought, I've put everything out there online already for free. AI could scour the podcast, for instance, and get an idea of how I talk and the vocabulary I use. So now there could, I know people are probably going, get over it, Andrew, come on. But no, just hang on a second. Like, it can scrub the internet for all the content that you've put out there. It has access to your phone conversations that you've had with people, the memes that you've sent to each other and all that stuff. So it knows you, it knows your personality, it knows your sense of humor and all that stuff. So now it can generate a fake you that can be out there doing its thing. And because it's learned from your, get this, right? Because it's learned from your video lessons on how to paint. Now suddenly it's come up with a second channel and teaching how to paint videos, but it's much better at copy than you. It's much better at thumbnails than you. And it knows the right time of day to post. And now suddenly it's going. So I thought, okay, what's the next move then? I'm just trying to stay, again, one step ahead and just go, okay, well, what's the next move? And that is interfacing in the real world, going back to the real world. So yeah,
mm,
kind of coming full circle here. Okay, you've still got the new world stuff going on, but there is still is a place for the real world stuff. And so I was
yeah.
thinking, well, it'd still be cool to stand on a mountain somewhere or in a river valley, in amongst the stones and the tree ferns, and then paint these epic mountains in New Zealand with Samuel Earp and myself. That'd still be cool. You could still enjoy that
Yeah,
experience
absolutely.
until then the next thought into my head, yeah, but they could just like plug in their VR goggles and do that.
I think people still want that human interaction at the end of the day, and I think
Yeah.
this is where a lot of it's going. Even online, it's um people want community now, if you see
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And that even goes with courses, and I mean whether it's teaching people to paint or it's whatever your field is. It's like courses are all well and good, but people want to interact with you and they want community and they want to interact with other people and share what they're doing and be able to ask questions and be able to ask you over a Zoom meeting.
That's right.
So people, yeah. So I'm not worried about the AI stuff. To me it's a tool. Um, I can't really see how the art side of it would be, as in getting AI to generate art for me. I can't see how that's going to be any use to me. But in terms of writing a blog post,
Mm.
writing stuff on my website, writing an email or something like that, then AI is brilliant, man. It's really useful because it comes up with apart from anything else, I mean, I have to change quite a bit of it anyway, but it comes up with a much better way of saying things than you could half the time. It's like sometimes I'm like, I want to say this, and then it generates something. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's exactly what I wanted to say, and I would have never have thought of that
Yeah.
way of saying things. If that
So,
makes sense.
you know, 'cause I'm also aware that I might sound like a massive hypocrite at the moment because there's a lot of people out there that where writing is their jam, writing is their art form. So they're looking at this going, well, you're crapping all over it from the art standpoint and making visual art, but here you're embracing it with this other art form. But you know, the thing that actually made the decision for me was when I
What's
was
that?
looking at these like huge blocks of copy that I had to write. Like I wrote an ebook right now that people can get off my website right now. Dude, it's 100 pages. You know,
Yeah,
and I just want people to know I wrote every word. I didn't use AI for that at all. I wrote every friggin' word. And then looking at the time and just going, I could have probably saved myself a week and spent that week with my son, who's like 2.5
yeah.
years old. And as soon as I had that thought, I'm like, screw it. My principles can take a back seat here. I'll dabble with the demons and I'll no, I'm kidding. I repent of that. No, but I'll get in here and I'll get the AI to write my dang stuff for me, you know. But
Actually, I will say
just with
that.
some stuff, like I think
Yeah,
to what you're saying, like you have to go back and edit it and rewrite vast portions of it because you know you're looking at it going, well, that's not how I talk, and I would never use that word. And so I find myself tweaking it constantly.
yeah. You do need to with AI for sure. So yeah, if you're just going to like let it generate it all for you and you just copy and paste, then that's not a good idea. For me, I just use it as a kind of like a guide
Yeah.
to outline things. But yeah, I will say also with the ebook that I have as well, I also wrote all of it without AI.
They're like, this
It's
sucks.
you know it's actually a little bit difficult writing how to blog posts. Oh, sorry, how to paint blog posts when it's your process. It's actually quite even then difficult for AI to write it all for you anyway. I find it's good for like using prompts or ideas for headings, and you're like, oh, I could write about that, and perhaps helping you to find keywords, which is
Mhm.
what Google searches for, which helps you rank your articles.
Mm.
It's useful for that as well. But you know, even the blog posts I write, which I do use AI to help me, but most of the time, uh, I I still have to, you know, go and edit. Well, you know, I have to edit all of it, and I'm still like writing loads of the parts myself. So I more use AI just to help me with ideas for headings and you know things I can put in the article that I might
Mm.
not have thought. Yeah,
So
so it's a tool. It has its use. It has its uses.
so kind of like coming back to what we were talking about earlier, like in terms of making this work as a business then. So you've got you've got your paintings, your original paintings.
Yeah,
You've set up some sort of online presence. And now but the other thing that you're adding to that is like find another level of diversification that isn't selling the paintings directly. So kind
yeah,
of bolster your business approach that way by having something else that's tied into it, but it's not selling the
yeah,
painting, it's selling something else to do with the painting. and
yeah.
and the natural one is teaching, isn't it? I mean, but there are
Yeah.
others. Yeah.
I just realized I never actually finished talking about how I was going to
Yeah,
but
how are you gonna do it? You're deflecting, come
I
on, bro.
went off on such a tangent. So I'll quickly go over the ideas that I've had and what I'm going to do. So yeah, you
Let's
have to
do it.
bear in mind I've focused on teaching over the last
Yeah.
few years. I've really been focusing on the teaching side because the whole point of it is to make money from my art without having to worry about selling a painting. And for me, it's all about the process, the joy of painting. It's like my lifetime, never-ending project.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love it. I love teaching it as well. It really lights me up when I see people um, that are really making leaps and progress with their artwork because of what I've taught them. And you can see them making that process. It's awesome. So I enjoy that. But yes, I am gonna at some point this year focus a bit more on selling some of my artwork. So I've got a separate website. It's samuelerpfineart.com.
Mhm.
So that's just purely for my paintings. And the platform I'm using, it's good. It presents the paintings in a really nice way, but it's got some limitations to it. So I'm actually thinking about moving websites and just moving over to WordPress, which is what I use for my main website, samuelerp.com. And it's just going to make things like email integration easier and things like that. So the thing I would do is I would certainly increase the frequency that I send out emails, because I've barely sent out any emails to people that are on my list that are just interested in my paintings. So I've got two separate email lists. And I was thinking that maybe I could actually start posting some videos of how some of my paintings were created and then send those in an email to get interest. And the other thing I'd like to do is look into making prints, but I don't want to handle the prints myself. I want to do some kind of print on demand. And the problem I've had over the last few years, and admittedly I haven't devoted that much time into it either, but when I've tried out a couple of print on demand sites, the prints were awful. Like I tried one, oh, it was a few years ago now. I ordered a print of one of my own works to see what it looked like, and it was all like rolled up, and I was just like, nah, that's not going to work at all.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, I personally don't want to deal with the prints myself. I like the idea of doing print on demand. I just haven't found the right company yet, but that's something I want to look into. So
Yeah.
I would like to develop that side of the business as well at some point, but right now still my main priority is my art school and the teaching side of it. And I just really enjoy that whole thing anyway. So I know we're talking about a lot of, business stuff here, and I know that's sort of anathema to some artists and stuff. But in this day and age, if you want to,
We lost them like half an hour ago. It's all right. They're not listening
all
anymore.
right, no,
Yes.
but
But I hear what you're saying.
like you always hear that thing of like, the starving artist, and oh, it's really difficult to make money from your art. Well, actually, I reckon you've got the same opportunities as, any other sort of digital kind of entrepreneur, or is it someone that's making money online, for example. Like lots of people make money online teaching a subject that they know about, for example. So arts teaching about art is no different, if you see what I
Absolutely.
mean. So there's if you're just prepared to put yourself out there and think outside the box, get in front of a camera, start getting used to it, start showing your painting process and stuff, and then start building a community, or build it. I know I keep hammering, mentioning school. I just love the platform so much, but create a community on school. In fact, actually, let me know, and I'll if you use my affiliate code, I'll help you build it. So, right there, mate. But anyway,
Nice little plug.
that,
Nicely done.
that's it. But seriously, I'll help you build it for free.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
seriously, uh, like there's so many opportunities online for you to monetize your passions, whether it's art or whether it's health, or whatever. You're a I don't know, you like cooking or something, or you like making recipes, something like that, where you can create a community and show people what to do. Just, anything really. There's so many opportunities now on the internet that you can do now that you probably can even do definitely can even do 10 years ago. And from my understanding, the creator economy is projected to be like absolutely massive in the next few years. So it's a good opportunity to jump on, especially as an artist.
Yeah.
Like there's loads of artists out there absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
And also the other thing I'd like to say is, like, it's very easy to get intimidated by other artists, and I'm definitely one of those people as well, but everyone's painting style's unique and different. And you've got something to say just like anybody else has. So don't worry about it. Like there's always going to be people better than you, but don't let that stop you from making a start. Like we've all got to start somewhere, and the more you do it, you're going to get better anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's so cool. By the way, I'm on your website right now, this SamuelEarpFineArt.com.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, I love the virtual exhibition. That is so neat, man. That is
Oh yes,
so
that's with.
neat. It's like a little it's brilliant the way it's done. It's a gallery, but I can move around this space. And I imagine that this is, you know, the you know, this is something that people can do. It's not your gallery, it's just like a virtual space.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
had that on there. It's with Art Placer. I was just I paid for a year's subscription because I just wanted to try it out and see what it looks like. And you know what? I completely forgot I've got that on there actually.
it looks really
It's
slick.
quite, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
It looks really slick. I'm gonna have to share a screen grab with the folks that are watching the video version of this podcast. By the way, the official video version of the podcast always available through Tish Academy. Go to tish.academy. You'll see some images of Sam's paintings. You'll also get a chance to see both Sam and I in our studios as we talk to each other here over Zoom. So anyway, check it out. Tish.academy. Link is in the show notes. Now, bro, you know, all this stuff is good. I've got some notes here. I've got some things that I'm thinking about. Um, I do want to bring into this, and I hope other people have been making some notes because you've given us a few great things here to think about that we can plug in right now. That's why I love doing this podcast and why it's been so good having you on. I want to get into the painting side of things now that I'm looking at some
Yeah,
beautiful work, man, and ask you about how how this process looks for you. I know it's evolved and changed over the years, but now you seem to really hit your stride with your approach, your paintings. There's a freshness and aliveness to the color, to your brushwork. Yeah, it was so good getting a chance to paint with you recently on the Wellington coast. That was a lot of fun. At the hills at the backside of Levin, just up against those Tararua ranges. That was an awesome painting session. I do find myself constantly kind of looking over your shoulder, working out kind of what your approach is. You know, we're talking shop the whole time, which is awesome. And I think it was you originally got me into locking in those shadows first. I think you got that from John Crump, if I'm not mistaken. It was
yeah,
then
that's right. Yeah,
reiterated to me from Joe Paquette. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Because normally I started with whatever was furthest away, work my way forward, but then just found myself chasing the light, chasing my tail the whole time. So
yeah,
it'd be great to just hear a little bit more of an insight into your particular painting approach, and not only with plein air, but also your studio work as well, and maybe some of
yeah,
the things that you're thinking about when you're painting. Like you're very much drawn to light, to natural beauty, inspired by the New Zealand landscape. But tell us, you know, and about your work and kind of take
yeah.
us on that little journey there, bro, because it's some beautiful stuff you're producing now.
Oh, cheers, man. Well, obviously goes back to in 2015 when we first met, when I came over to visit you in Australia, and I'd gotten to a point with my art that I was just completely floundering and couldn't get the results I wanted. My paintings looked flat. I didn't understand the tonal value aspect of it. My compositions were terrible. My color mixing wasn't great either. And it all just goes to show it's just like having the right instruction and just someone teaching you a few things, because that 2 weeks I stayed with you, my paintings jumped up a load of levels, and you can visibly see the massive improvement in my artwork. So you obviously taught me your way of doing things, and it provided a solid foundation for me. So then as I started like going off on my own and working these things out for myself with that solid foundation of information that you'd given me, um, I started finding my own ways of doing things. Now, one of the things that I started doing a lot more of was plein air painting, and specifically in 2016, after we ran those two plein air painting tours that we did or that I helped you with in the South Island of New Zealand. Because actually when we did that painting tour, I was plein air painting, but I wasn't really that experienced. And then that in 2016, after the tour, I went out plein air painting a lot, and I learned a lot. That so much, in fact, that I learned stuff that would have taken me a long time to pick up in the studio. Like I had so many light bulb aha moments. I specifically remember when I was painting by Lake Hayes, and by Lake Hayes there's a load of willow trees there. It was winter, so they didn't have any leaves on them or anything like that. And I thought, oh man, this will look awesome in my painting. And I painted it and I was just like, this looks flat. What is going on then? I just suddenly thought, man, if I was to paint these trees in summer, because trees in general are some of the darkest values you'll find in the landscape, maybe willow trees not so much, but they can still be pretty dark. But there would have been some dark, solid shadows in that scene that I was painting, and it would have brought those trees forward where I wanted them, and it would look really good. But it was winter, and winter willow trees much lighter in value, and so it was getting lost in the other surrounding light values, such as the straw-colored grass that was there. And I was just like, why didn't that work? And then suddenly it dawned on me. It's just like the value's the same, is pretty much the same values as the surrounding grass and the water as well. And that's why it's not working. And then I just suddenly thought, what you see in nature doesn't always necessarily translate well on a canvas. So it means you need to change something or add something to your painting that's going to make it look more realistic, for example. So we're not trying to copy photos or copy direct what we see. We need to maybe move things around or add something that's perhaps not in view, if that makes sense. So anyway,
Absolutely.
later on that year, I went painting with John Crump, Richard Robinson, he's another New Zealand painter, came down. There were some guys that came over from Australia as well, and it's just everyone just converged in or met up in Glen Orchy, and there was just loads of us, and for about 2 weeks every day we all were going out painting. And John Crump kept saying to me, you'll find it much easier if you paint the dark values first, because then it doesn't matter if the light moves, because the light's inevitably going to move, or if it suddenly clouds over, which often happens in New Zealand, especially if you're painting in the mountains. Well, if you've got your dark values established first, you've immediately created that tiers of tonal depth already, and then it makes it much easier to paint the areas that are in light afterwards and get the saturation of your colors correct as well, because you can gauge it off the dark values that you've just put down there. And I also include clouds on, even though the value of clouds is generally lighter, because sky and clouds, it depends if it's a stormy sky, but in general there's some of the lighter values you'll find in the landscape. So I don't know if you've heard of the artist John Carlson. He wrote a book called Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting, and he's very simple, very simplified tonal values in the landscape. And he's like, the arch of the sky is one of your lightest values. Then you've got your ground plane of the grass. It's usually a little bit darker, but still relatively light. Then you've got the slanting planes of the mountains. They're much darker. And then you've got your upright planes or the trees, and they're your darkest values you found in the landscape. And it's just such an easy concept to remember.
Wow.
That you can just,
right.
There's something you can think about when you go out, or if you just approach a painting, or if you just, it's something easy to think about. So what I've done over the years, and especially learning this from plein air painting, because I started applying it to my studio work, found my studio work improved greatly. I was getting quicker. But what I've done over the years is I've just kind of simplified all this knowledge that I've learned in a manner that's easier to explain. So just like remembering that concept about values in the landscape that John Carlson teaches, it's really easy to remember. Another thing I've done is, for example, one of my painting heroes is Edgar Payne, and he wrote a book which I'd thoroughly recommend you get, called Composition of Outdoor Painting. And even if you don't paint outdoors, all the information in there is just as applicable to studio painting. And he simplified like a load of different types of compositions, and even in the book he's looked at other people's paintings and explained what composition types there. So what I've done often, and when I teach this to people, is I've taken the the 5 most simple compositions, for example, that I think are the 5 most easiest compositions to remember. And I've been teaching those to people, and I've remembered those myself. So whenever I'm out painting outdoors, for example, I can go, oh, you know what? I think this will work really well if I apply a steel yard composition, or this would work right, like there's a river in the scene, for example. So I could apply an S composition to that.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so there's all these simple things. So what the other thing I've done over the years is I've actually simplified my paint palette and reduced the amount of colors that I used, because I found personally, and I'm, there are lots of artists that use lots of colors, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I found that it doesn't work so well for me, and I found it easier to simplify my palette more, use fewer colors, and I've actually found that I've been able to mix all the colors that I find in the landscape anyway, plus the added advantage of you're creating more color harmony in the painting, because those few colors you do have, you're more likely to be using it throughout your painting. So your painting's just going to read better.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that really encouraged me at this, because one of my favorite painters, modern day painters, is Scott Christensen.
Mhm.
And a few years ago, I bought a couple of his painting tutorial videos, because I was like, curious, what colors does he use? Very pleasantly surprised to find that I mean, I don't know what he's using now, but at the time I bought those videos, he was literally painting with blue, yellow, red, and white. And he was actually mixing a load of neutral grays that he even tubed himself as well.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I did try his method of painting. It didn't work for me, regardless, but I still think it's a great way. And he was all about the color harmony and stuff. So yeah, it just goes to show that you don't actually need a lot of colors either. And you can actually, I think, learn more about color mixing, and also have less confusion by having too many colors. Because some of the colors I was using, I found I could mix anyway. I mean, like, for example, like cobalt teal, and don't get me wrong, that's a beautiful color, and I still use it from time to time. Usually if I'm going to use cobalt teal, I'll substitute it for another color, but you can make a very similar color with phthalo green, ultramarine blue, and titanium white, which are colors I have on my palette anyway. It's not as punchy as cobalt teal, but it's a pretty similar color. Do you know what I mean? So there's
How
lots
dare
of
you? I want that hat I sent you back. That keeping it real with cobalt teal hat. You got to
no,
give it back.
don't get me wrong. I still use cobalt teal from time to time. It depends what I'm painting as well. Normally I'll substitute it for like phthalo green, and instead of using alizarin crimson, I'll use quinacridone magenta instead, just because cobalt teal combines really well with quinacridone magenta. And you can get some really pretty zinging kind of violets with them.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah.
so um, yeah, but I personally just find it easier to use fewer colors. So that's more the way my painting's been lately. But I feel like I've been getting more depth in my paintings. It's also what I teach as well. Is I just sort of teach it in this simplified manner, so that you can just understand just the main principles of it. And then after that, if you want to start adding more colors or just doing your own thing, you can always experiment, and you can default. If you're having trouble, like you might be looking at a hill in the landscape, and you're not quite sure what the shadow colors are, for example, you can always go, well, you know what? I know ultramarine blue with some burnt sienna, titanium white, and a little bit of alizarin crimson will work. And you can put that in your painting, and it's going to work, for example. So it's like defaulting back to some like core color mixes that you just know are going to work,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's what I've been focusing on. So the other thing with plein air painting, of course, is it's really helped to loosen up my brushwork. I still like a bit of detail, but I don't like my paintings to be overly detailed. So I'm always trying to find that balance between looseness and a little bit of detail. But I'm not so fond of artists' work where they just literally look like photographs. I honestly don't see the point in it
Right.
personally. I like paintings that have got like life and vitality in them, and drama, and just, yeah, just I was talking about this with someone the other day, actually, an artist, and we both agreed that paintings done well that are with loose brushwork just shows confidence. And I was like, yeah, that's the word.
Hmm.
So this is where plein air painting can be just absolutely enormously beneficial to your artworks. Plus it's a great way of capturing the essence and memories of the places that you painted. Like, for example, like one of my most memorable plein air painting experience was that time that me and you went and painted on the Murray River. And the
Oh, that
thing
was
that really
cool. That was cool.
that was awesome, yeah. But there was something about the energy of that place and
Yeah.
gum trees, and it was it was a warm day, and it was just very, very
Yeah.
peaceful. And I still remember that to this day. And I've got a painting from it as well. So it's
Yeah. Me
better
too.
to
Me
take a
too.
photo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I
I'll
quite love
have
plein
Jim
air
cut
painting.
cut some of the photos from that trip into the podcast when we're talking. That was the
Yeah,
Barma State Forest right there on the Murray River, just right there between Victoria and New South Wales. But it was yeah, a brilliant session. I remember that too. That was cool. Yeah.
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 No, I just plein air painting, man. I just love it. I haven't been doing enough lately, but yeah,
Me
just being
neither.
outside,
Yeah.
getting some sun on you, and especially if you can paint with friends as well, it's really good. But yeah, just being outside in the fresh air and doing a painting,
So
it's the
I
best.
suppose this might be a really interesting point in the conversation to just say that if anybody would like to join Sam and I painting outdoors in the South Island of New Zealand, then where should we send them? Should we send them to my website or yours to get in touch? We're going to be
Oh,
announcing it officially very soon, but I guess we could say, maybe there might be a waiting list or something because I imagine this thing's going to go pretty quick. There'd only be about 10 to 20 spots available, but I'm looking forward to doing another one of these tours with you, dude.
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I think it'll be real good fun.
Oh, it'd be
I
so
mean,
cool.
the team that we did before were awesome. They're really good fun.
Yeah, shout out, by the way, shout out to Gina, who's all the way over there in Perth, Western Australia. I think Gina and Wayne are going to be the first ones in, coming along
Oh,
to
that'd be awesome.
join us on another tour. Great folks there. But I know there were several students that were just itching to come down to New Zealand to come and paint. So I think this might be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you should definitely come down here. Like New Zealand really is just one of the best places ever to be a landscape artist. It's got so much packed into such a small country. You got these beautiful high mountains, you got rolling green hills, you got the coastline, you got lakes. There's just all sorts of things to paint, and especially um where we were painting before, which I think that's where we'll do the art tour again, like, in the sort of Glenorchy, Queenstown area. It's such a stunning spot. There's so much to paint there. So
Absolutely.
yeah, you gotta come down to New Zealand.
So Sam, I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you, the next chapter, and you kind of breaking the back of this online business side of things. And because I know I feel you. We talk about it often. Because I'm in a similar place where it's like, if you get the business side of things just taken care of, kind of take care of all those commitments, and then eke away a little bit of time for painting. But I have a feeling this is a year. I have a feeling it's gonna be
Yeah,
a
I
good one
reckon
too.
so. Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about business because obviously, if you want to make a living as an artist, it's stuff, and I'm still learning myself a lot. Yeah, and it has its ups and downs, that's for sure. But you've got to make it work because really, if you don't make it work, then you're not sharing your knowledge that can help other people. So
Mm,
no one wins if you're not making it work, if you see what I mean. And it's the same if you're an artist and you want to teach people, for example. I mean, it's one avenue or whatever, but you got something to say, then you should share it, absolutely, because you don't want to be depriving other people of like what you can help them with. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good way of putting it, man, for sure. Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, bro.
That's, yeah.
I've enjoyed this, man. I've enjoyed this very
It's been
much.
a real good chat, man.
It's great. It's always great catching up with you. But hey, man, we're gonna do this again. I know very soon. By the way, here's the book that Sam was talking about. The Edgar Payne Composition of Outdoor Painting. Samuel Earp sent me this book. Real nice guy. I want everybody listening right now to follow Sam on Instagram and on his website. We're going to post all those links in the show notes down below. But Sam, brother, thank you so much for being on this episode
Dude,
of The
thanks for
Creative
that.
Endeavor.
We should, yeah, for sure, mate. We'll have to do this again soon sometime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Creative Endeavor podcast. And a huge shout out and thank you to my guest and my good pal, Samuel Earp. If you want to find more of Samuel's work, then you can find him right now on Instagram. Make sure you go and follow him there. He can be found at Samuel_Earp. That's EARP_artist. And check out some of the fantastic work that he's uploading there on his Instagram. And he can also be found on his website at SamuelEarpFineArt.com. I'm going to include those links down in the show notes. Again, make sure you follow my good friend Samuel. I just love what he's doing and what he's bringing to the art community, his energy and his dedication to his art practice. He's a really inspiring guy. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and leave me a rating or a review on whatever audio platform you're listening on. And if you ever want to tune in to the video version of the podcast, you can always find that at Tisch Academy. Simply go to tisch.academy. Yes, that's an actual website, TISCH.academy. And you'll find all of the video versions there, along with hundreds of hours of video content with painting demonstrations. I've just started uploading some brand new videos to the Creator Activator, which is all about art business. So if you're looking to get an edge in your art business, check out some of the videos there. I upload twice a month to that video library, but there is so much painting content there, more content than you could shake a brush at. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, I'm going to get out of here and get back to painting, but thank you so much for joining me here in the studio, and I'll see you again in another episode of The Creative Endeavor.